"We don't serve your kind here," the restaurant manager said it quietly, which was how he'd learned to say things he knew were wrong. Quiet makes cruelty sound like policy. Marcus Webb, 47, sat across from his daughter Zoe in a booth at Harrington's, a place he'd driven past for 15 years, and finally walked into on a Saturday, because Zoe had just passed her bar exam and wanted somewhere nice. Marcus wore a pressed shirt. Zoe wore the blazer she'd bought specifically for results day. They'd been seated, handed menus, and ignored for 22 minutes. They were the only table that hadn't been greeted. The manager's name was Gary. He arrived not to take their order, but to deliver a message, standing at their booth with his hands clasped and his voice arranged into something meant to sound apologetic, but missing the part where you're actually sorry. "I don't want to cause any embarrassment," Gary said, "but this section is reserved for members of our private dining club. And I'm afraid we don't have a reservation," Marcus said. We walked in. The host seated us. "Yes, well, there may have been a miscommunication. I think you'd be more comfortable at one of our other locations downtown." "More comfortable," Marcus repeated. Gary smiled the smile of a man who has practiced this and considers himself good at it. "We just want to make sure all our guests have the right experience." Zoe put down her menu. She was 26, had just passed one of the hardest exams in the country on her first attempt, and recognized with the precision of someone trained to identify exactly what was happening at their table. "Dad," she said quietly. "I know," Marcus said. He looked at Gary for a long moment, not with anger, with the stillness of a man calculating while appearing to do nothing. Then he took out his phone and noted the time, Gary's name tag, the section they were seated in, and the host who'd put them there. Slowly, visibly, so Gary could watch every character being typed. "We'll leave," Marcus said. "But I want you to understand something first. I own the building you're standing in. Have for 9 years. Your lease renewal comes across my desk in 43 days. Gary's smile didn't fall immediately. It took 3 seconds, how long a brain needs to process something it wasn't prepared for. "I am sorry? Webb Commercial Properties. Look it up on the way back to your office." Marcus stood, straightened his shirt. "Zoe, let's find somewhere that wants our business." Zoe picked up her blazer, looked at Gary once with the evaluating expression of a woman filing information, and walked out. Gary went to his office and searched Webb Commercial Properties. 4 seconds. 14 blocks of the downtown dining district, Harrington's flagship location among 6 other restaurants, all under leases due for renewal within 60 days. He called his regional director. The regional director called corporate. Corporate called legal. Legal pulled the lease and confirmed what Gary had already understood. The man he'd asked to find somewhere more comfortable owned the floor the restaurant was built on. Marcus received a call Monday from Harrington's VP of Operations, a woman named Diane, who had clearly been handed a grenade and told to defuse it. She apologized with the thoroughness of a company that has calculated its own exposure. Offered a formal written apology, dinner for 2, a charitable donation of his choosing. Marcus listened to everything. "One question, Diane, of course. Was there a private dining club reservation in that section Saturday afternoon?" A pause. "I've looked into that." "No, there was not." "Thank you," Marcus said. "I'll be in touch about the lease." He was. 43 days later, Webb Commercial Properties sent a renewal offer with a 15% rate increase and one new clause, a non-discrimination policy, with enforcement language giving the landlord grounds for early termination without penalty on documented incidents of differential treatment. Harrington's legal team called to negotiate. Marcus's property manager took the call and said the terms were not negotiable. They signed. Gary was gone before the ink dried. Terminated quietly within 2 weeks of the Saturday. The way corporations remove people who create liability before it becomes a headline. Zoe called the evening the lease executed. She'd been tracking it from her new office at the firm where she'd just started as a junior associate. Did they sign? They signed. The clause too? The clause too. She went quiet for a moment. "You know what I keep thinking about?" "Tell me." 22 minutes. We sat there and I kept telling myself maybe I was reading it wrong. Maybe they were just busy. "You weren't reading it wrong," Marcus said. "I know. I just wanted to be." He understood that the exhaustion of hoping you're misreading a room, the weight of being right anyway. He'd carried it 47 years. She'd carried it 26. Neither of them had asked for it. You passed the bar, he said. First attempt. Find somewhere that deserves to celebrate it. Saturday, she laughed. Somewhere you don't own the building. I make no promises. Gary had called it the right experience. He just didn't know how many ways the right experience could be arranged by the man who owned the floor he was standing on. 43 days. That's all it took.